this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to do a smackdown between Verizon's two 10-inch LTE 4G Android tablets. The Motorola XYBoard 10.1 on my left, and the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 on my right. So here we have Verizon's two 10-inch Android honeycomb tablets. The Motorola XYBoard on the left is a 10.1-inch model. It's also available in an 8.2-inch model. And here we have the incumbent, the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1. which has been one of the most popular Android tablets, and it's now 6 months old, so it's impressive stuff that it's actually still in the running. With tablets, they evolve so quickly that after 6 months, gee, a lot of them seem like old news, but the Galaxy Tab is still hanging in there. Interestingly, Verizon prices them about the same with and without contract. The 16 gig models are $699 without a contract, and they're cheaper with a contract, and there's also 32 gig versions. Now, Verizon's been playing with the Galaxy Tab 10.1 pricing lately. They've been offering some refurb, so you might get a better deal on that, and just jockeying the price around a little bit on the 32 gig. But the 16 gig, they are priced similarly, if not the same. Will Verizon lower the price on the Tab 10.1 since it is a half-year-old piece of technology? Only Verizon knows the answer to that question. So let's talk about the specs of these first. Both of these have 10.1-inch displays running at 1280 by 800 resolution. The XYBoard uses an IPS display, and an extra bright one at that. In fact, it's pretty good at combating outdoor bright light situations. It's right up there with the Transformer Prime, which has its Super IPS Plus very bright display. Galaxy Tab uses a PLS display. It's a similar sort of technology to IPS. It has wide viewing angles, maybe not quite as wide as IPS, but very wide. And it has really good contrast, and it's very bright as well. But outdoors, the XYBoard does have an advantage. It's a bit sharper and clearer to see outside. Since the Galaxy Tab 10.1 is basically one of the first generation round of Android honeycomb tablets, it runs on the ubiquitous 1 GHz dual-core NVIDIA Tegra 2 CPU, whereas the XYBoard, being a newer product, has a 1.2 GHz dual-core TI OMAP CPU, which seems very ice cream sandwich friendly. That's Android OS 4.0. By the way, both of these are slated to get upgrades to that operating system. Neither manufacturer has given a date yet for that, but it's supposed to be happening. In terms of benchmarks, the XYBoard benchmarks more quickly, as you'd expect, because it is a newer CPU with a higher clock speed. Both in terms of graphics test and just straight CPU tests, the XYBoard is the winner. In terms of synthetic benchmarks, Quadrant clocks the XYBoard at 3100, just a little bit under that, and it clocks the Galaxy Tab 10.1 at 2400, where higher numbers are better. The XYBoard also does about 250 points better on the SunSpider JavaScript test, which measures the speed of JavaScript rendering in the web browser. One place you're really going to notice the difference is when you're playing video, though. The Tegra 2 was not so good at accelerated video playback. So we've got gallery open over here, and we've got some trailers loaded, and we have a 720p high profile H.264 MPEG-4 file loaded, and a 1080p high profile. That's these two right here, and neither of them is going to play. It just won't even try. That's that. Now you can load third-party players and give it a try, that kind of thing, and add some codecs, but just off the bat, this is not the Tegra 2 strong point. Here we have a regular 1080p non-high profile trailer, and the Galaxy Tab 10.1 can play that, as you'll see. So that works just fine. Here we have a whole lot of 1080p high profile, and we've got one to show you right now. I'll just use the built-in video player. Clearly it's not refusing to play, in fact it's just going to play it.
You were made to be ruled.
And you can hear the audio quality as well, which brings up another point. The Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 has pretty nice speakers on it, but the XYBoard has even better stereo separation. I like the sound quality a little bit better, but either way, you're doing pretty well when it comes to built-in sound capabilities. While we're talking about video playback, that leads into using HDMI out. Obviously, if you're playing 1080p, there's no point to doing that internally to the screen because it's a 720p display. But you can do HDMI out. Now, with the XYBoard, you've got a micro HDMI port right here. So all you have to do is plug in your HDMI cable with either a micro HDMI adapter or get a micro HDMI cable. Plug this into your TV, your monitor, your projector, and you're good to go. Samsung pretty much, they like to avoid all ports, and they're kind of copying the iPad 2 there, and there is no HDMI port here. What you can do is buy an adapter for around $20 or $30 that will convert this dock connector into an HDMI output if you want to do output to your TV or monitor. While we're taking a look around the devices, we compare. Size-wise, the footprint is just about identical, other than this one has cut-off corners, so if you lay them right on top of each other, you'll just see the little ears showing on this. I call that the same. They're both very thin, and they weigh about the same. They're both about 1.33 pounds, and they're also both about 1/3 of an inch. Samsung does a more gradual taper, so the edge itself looks thinner, but where it widens out at the back, they are the same. In terms of ruggedness and build quality, well, part of this depends on aesthetics. If you like the look of the iPad 2, just a very thin and simple slate, then you might like the Galaxy Tab better. But in terms of build quality and aesthetics, well, aesthetics are up to you in part. If you like the iPad 2 look, the very clean and simple look, you're going to like the Galaxy Tab 10.1. But the XYBoard is much more rugged and sturdy. It's got that nice Gorilla Glass display, so there's the 10.1. But if you take a look at the back here, you see you've got metal here, you've got a nice aluminum back, and you've got this kind of rubbery, rugged place to grip it. It makes it very ergonomic and nice to hold. All in all, a very sturdy tablet. Tab 10.1, it has a metal frame around the edges to give it some rigidity. It certainly feels more delicate just because, well, it's a very thin piece of glass with a plastic back. And right now we're using the Wi-Fi version of the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10, but the Verizon version is the same. It's also available in white, and they're both made of plastic. So, you know, plastic versus metal, you know who's going to win, metal. But aesthetically speaking, I leave that up to you. Do you like the kind of Star Trek, modern, masculine XYBoard Droid look here, or do you like this clean, simple look? In terms of expansion, well, we mentioned that Motorola has a micro HDMI connector, the Samsung doesn't. Neither of these guys has micro SD card slots, which is a bummer. We certainly wish that they did. And maybe Samsung will change in the future, because they did add one for the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7 Plus. The Motorola has USB host. It has a standard micro USB port down here versus a proprietary dock connector, and that's real handy. So you can actually get a little USB host cable adapter, plug that in here and access flash drives, use a USB keyboard, that kind of thing. Samsung, obviously, no USB port there. They do have a USB host adapter. I have never had much luck actually getting that working. When it comes to SD cards, you can obviously use an external SD card reader with the Motorola XYBoard using that USB host cable. Samsung sells an optional SD card adapter. In terms of operating system and software, they're both running Android OS at 3.2 Honeycomb. Samsung has their TouchWiz user interface on top of this, and you know, I like TouchWiz on tablets. Actually, I like it more on tablets than I do on phones. And they give you some handy shortcuts here. You can see kind of enlarged controls right here for your notifications, your Wi-Fi, your GPS, that kind of thing, your brightness controls, and you can tap through to see the full set of settings. And you get some of Samsung's widgets, like you've got their Social Hub social networking widget. So you've got some customizations. The browser gets some more Chrome around it. We'll take a look at that. So you can see that they've customized that a bit. The XYBoard runs a more vanilla version of Honeycomb, Android OS 3.2, probably because that makes for an easier upgrade path to Ice Cream Sandwich, Android OS 4.0. The less UI customization, the easier the upgrade path is. So we have the squared off Motorola icons here, but on that pretty much nothing has been touched in terms of UI, and there's no Moto Blur here like there is on Motorola phones, and no Motorola integrated social networking, all of that kind of stuff. And you know, Moto Blur hasn't been the most popular thing, so that's probably good. In terms of widgets, everything that comes with is just standard Honeycomb widgets except for the Verizon data counter. In terms of connectivity, they both have Verizon LTE 4G, and they have fallback to 3G EVDO Rev A, and data speeds on both are quite good. They're similar, and we average between 15 and 20 megabit down and about 5 up with reasonable coverage. They also both have similar reception too, so it's a tie there. And for those times when you don't want to use LTE, they both have Wi-Fi 802.11bgn. They also have GPS and Bluetooth, and the GPS actually works on both of them quite well. With both of these tablets, you can buy them with a contract or without a contract. If you buy it without a contract at a Verizon store, they're going to make you sign up for 1 month of data. You pay month to month. It's not a contract that you sign or anything like that. But after that, you're free to cancel after that first month if you just want to use these guys as Wi-Fi only tablets. When it comes to the camera, they both have front and rear cameras. The front one for video chat, and they both work just fine with both Google Talk video chat and with Skype. And on the back, the XYBoard has a 5 megapixel camera with a LED flash, very bright. And by the way, these are the speakers over here, so that's a pretty good location. If you're holding it sideways like this, the speakers are going to fire kind of up. You're not going to block them with your hands. The Samsung has a 3 megapixel camera with an LED flash. And while we're talking about speakers, there's one speaker hole here, and there's another on this side. Also good because you tend to hold it lower down when you're holding it so that it fires out the sides. As you might guess, between 3 and 5 megapixels, neither of them is going to be a stunning shooter that's going to rival the best camera you've ever seen on a mobile device, but definitely the Motorola wins. It's more pixels isn't always better, but you do get sharper shots and better white balance overall with the Motorola camera. In terms of software bundles, Motorola gives you a lot of stuff that's business oriented, like virtual Polycom, Citrix receiver, that kind of stuff. They also have Motocast, which is kind of cool. It's a wireless way of accessing the files on your computer, be it a PC or a Mac, and we talked about that in our full video reviews of the XYBoard 8.2 and 10.1. I like that a lot. And it also uses Motocast USB for USB cabled file transfer. You could use Verizon's VCast Media Manager as well if you wish to do that. It doesn't do standard mass storage protocol, however. The Samsung goes with their keys over Wi-Fi, and MTP, Media Transport Protocol, which works fine with Windows, but it doesn't work with the Mac at all, the MTP protocol. And keys is kind of a little bit hit or miss. So just for standard vanilla mass storage, neither of these is a real joy, to be honest, but the Motorola is definitely easier, especially if you have a Mac. In terms of software that they bundle, Samsung includes their Media Hub, that's for renting and downloading movies, and their social networking stuff, which is actually pretty nice. I like their social hub pretty well. And they also have a music hub, so you've got some multimedia consumption stuff there. For multimedia stuff, Motorola includes a Slingbox player, which of course if you have a Slingbox is handy, otherwise not so much. Then you got Video Surf on there, and that's about it. There's no added music or video store. You can use Google, however, to buy music and to download videos. Both of these work with Netflix and come with Netflix preloaded. They both play just fine. And now for the special sauce section, as I like to call it. Pretty much a Galaxy Tab, like all the first-gen Android tablets with a few exceptions, is just a tablet. It accesses the internet. You can use Office. By the way, there's an Office suite included with the Motorola. There is not with the Galaxy Tab 10.1, but you can purchase and download one for around $15. But it is what it is. Now, some of the recent tablets we've seen, the second-gen offerings, add things like this digital pen, which is really cool. This works with the XYBoard 10.1, and it comes with the XYBoard 10.1. Not with the 8.2, doesn't work with it, because this is an active dual N-trig digitizer, and that means this is not a capacitive stylus, it's an actually much more precise active pen. So we can use it with the Floating Notes app here. And you can make notes to self, draw diagrams, all that kind of stuff, sketch if you like. Pretty handy stuff for those of you who like take notes in meetings or in class. No pressure sensitivity yet with this stylus. That's a driver issue. Really don't know why they haven't. I assume because they're waiting for Ice Cream Sandwich, which has bigger pen support. And they also include Sketch, which is a companion application to Evernote. Evernote is a real popular cloud note syncing and much more. You can save web pages, do all sorts of kind of things, open up documents. And the pen works absolutely wonderfully with Sketch here. Now, if you try to do that kind of thing, especially if you start doing a lot of flowing lines with a capacitive stylus, you start trying to draw, you see a lot of skipping. So there's definitely an advantage to having this active pen. So if you're the kind of person who likes to take notes or draw, strong advantage. If you don't care about those things, well, obviously not so much. The other neat thing, and this is something that Samsung's included on their Tab 7 Plus, not offered by Verizon, their 7-inch tablet, but it is included on this, is an AV remote with an IR blaster right here. Both the 8.2 and the 10.1 Droid XYBoard have this feature. It's on the short end on the 8.2 and it's right over here on the 10.1. And this works with the included app Digit to control all your home AV gear stuff. So here you can see you've got the dual UI here, and again this is covering our full review of the XYBoard 10.1 and 8.2. And you've got all your AV gear right here, and you can switch between all the kinds of things, receiver, Blu-ray player, all that kind of stuff, and you can even switch between rooms if you have gear in 2 different rooms. And here we've got our TV show listings. So say there's something interesting, you can get a full description of it, and if you hit the watch button, it'll control your cable box and switch to that channel for you. Kind of sweet, nice value added, and pretty much typical of what we're seeing in some of the second generation higher-end Android tablets adding features like this. In terms of gaming, they're both capable. The NVIDIA Tegra 2 CPU used in this was very good for gaming, and NVIDIA, in fact, got the Tegra Zone going, which was a bunch of games that were optimized for the Tegra CPU. Well, a bunch might be an exaggeration, but we're talking about 10 or so apps. Some of those actually will play on non-Tegra tablets like the XYBoard and the Transformer Prime as well. But there are optimizations in place for the Tegra 2, so there's a chance that you might see more textures or more effects on a Tegra 2 tablet if you're playing one of those Tegra Zone games. In terms of overall horsepower and even graphics horsepower, really the XYBoard with its newer generation TI OMAP dual-core 1.2 GHz CPU does have an advantage for gaming, but again, no slouch here with the Galaxy Tab 10.1. When it comes to battery life, both of these guys are similar, and it depends if you're using LTE or Wi-Fi. LTE actually generally consumes more power than Wi-Fi, go figure, but on average 8 hours for both of these tablets, so it's pretty much a draw there. So that's our smackdown of the 2 10-inch Android tablets available now in Verizon Wireless. You can get them with or without a contract if you want. They're both expensive, but they're both nice hardware. Now, I think you can tell, obviously, the XYBoard 10.1 pulls ahead, and even the 8.2 in terms of features and speed and newness. Well, it is 6 months newer, and while they're priced about the same, for sure, I would really recommend the XYBoard over the Galaxy Tab 10.1 based on the number of features that it adds and the speed improvements that it has and the nice, rugged, durable build. But if Verizon does drop the price of the Galaxy Tab 10.1 by $100 or so, well then, it starts to get more interesting there, especially if you're budget conscious. There's definitely a lot of appeal. It's still a very thin tablet with a very colorful display. Samsung, they always do a very nice job of boosting the colors, and there are 3 levels of color boost you can use on the Samsung. They're both very thin tablets, they're both light tablets, and they're both attractive tablets in different ways. Don't forget to watch our full video reviews of both of these tablets. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel too.